Welcome. We are at DC Beer. DCBeer.com. You know what to do. Jordan Harvey. What are you drinking this lovely, not at all wet, rainy evening?
Well, I thought I would just start the new year off kind of how I ended the last year. So just having a wonderful, tasty fourth anniversary other half beer. They've been releasing a lot of their other half anniversary hazies over the past several weeks, and they have been wetting my whistle, if you will. So enjoying that and making 2024 as filled with hops as 2023 was. Mr. Stein, what's in your Stein tonight?
I'm enjoying Bristol Export Ale, which is a beer I brewed with Favio Garcia, Dynasty Brewing Company. We brewed it for Mount Vernon, and we threw a ton of hops. We threw hops in the kettle. We threw hops in the hop back. We dry hopped the beer, but the beer is so malty, and we use so much malt that the hops are just disappearing and losing to the malt, which is in fact a good thing because the malt is doing this wonderful like Cavassier brandy figgy stone fruit thing, and it's really hitting. Jake, what are you hitting on this evening?
I am gonna go even higher gravity. I had a Wild East Dark Mild earlier while I was
Ooh.
making dinner, but having digested dinner, I figured it's time to move the heavier stuff. I have here 1-8 Distilling's Untitled Whiskey number 13. It is a sourced, although I don't know from where. It's a high rye bourbon. It's been aged in sherry and perhaps also cognac casks. And so, rye gives you like a little kind of peppery snap, a little bit of dill, baking spice, and then you want to hit it with those sweeter notes to kind of balance things out. But yeah, 10 years old, nice. You get a little bit of that oak. You still get like that nice kind of like damp grain character. It sucks that 1-8 isn't around anymore, but it's good that I have these bottles. So thank you, Sandy. Thank you, Alex, the distiller over there. Um, good times. All right, we got a couple events coming up. And Mike, I believe yours is happening.
January 18th.
There we
So
go.
Thursday, January 18th, we are doing a panel discussion on reviving historic beer. We're calling the panel Mount Vernon's Dynasty. And the reason we're calling it that is because we have Steve Bayshore from Mount Vernon, who is the distiller at Mount Vernon. And we have Favio Garcia, who's the owner and head brewer at Dynasty. And at Church Key, we're going to be discussing the styles that Favio and I have been brewing. Favio brewed the majority of the beer, but we have one style that I love is Bristol Export Ale. And I've been DMing and emailing all my English, Irish, and Scottish friends like, hey, have you had Bristol Export? And they're like, Stein, what are you talking about? So I'm looking forward to having a bunch of people on 14th Street ask me, what are you talking about? But I think before the 18th, we've got a really exciting event coming up, Jake, on the 13th. Is that right?
That is correct. Not Friday the 13th, but Saturday the 13th. Over at Other Half. And this is part of the Women's Brew Culture Club. Shout out to Brandy. Under the weather. Hopefully better by then.
We
It's
love you,
a
Brandy.
yeah,
Yeah.
beer attribute sensory tasting. And so it's a ticketed event and it's designed, and we're going to say this is wild and crazy. Some beers are going to be dosed and spiked with off flavors. And then Matt Splain, friend of the site, Other Half GM, is going to lead this guided tasting and learning experience. And so we'll geek out, detect, oh, hey, why does this beer taste a little bit off? What's a little bit of the chemistry behind that? Why does this beer taste a little bit like butter? Which, speaking of Bristol Export Ale, that would be fine by me in a Bristol Export Ale. Probably less so in a hazy IPA, for example.
Right.
Would agree
Um,
with that. Yeah.
yeah. But again, Saturday the 13th at Other Half, details dcbeer.com, and tickets to the Dynasty event at Church Key. Also, that information is dcbeer.com, access to our events page. Those are the two big January events, except for we've
Okay.
got one more. The biggest, bestest January event is coming up. 2 bucks for emphasis. Lou lets you know that we're being serious here. We brewed a beer at Dynasty with Strange Fruit Brewing. I'm here with Austin Eason and Justin Broady from Strange Fruit Brewing. Welcome back to the show. Last we were here chatting about 6-7 months ago, you all had brewed an IPA over at DC Brow, and it was available at Mile 20 in Herndon. What's changed since then?
Where to start? A lot has changed, I guess. We've since released another beer, German Pilsner, and we're in about almost 40 places now. So we've been making some moves throughout the summer and on into the winter. And one of those big places is Total Wine. I know we'll talk about that a little bit later. But yes, we are available at a lot more places than Mile 20. Our beer is still available there. There's still huge supporters and everything of us there, and still appreciate it. But yes, made a lot of progress.
You are licensed not just to brew beer under contract at various facilities. You're looking for a tap room at some point, but you're also a distribution company and you can sell in both DC and Virginia. How'd you go from one place in Herndon, shouts to Mile 20, to 40? What's the secret?
Man, I mean, there's a lot of things, but I mean, Justin can probably attest to this more than I can, since he's boots on the ground. But a lot of it is support from the folks that we have in the area. Although I'm on the West Coast, I'm from the East Coast. I have a ton of friends that are still out there, and they all came to the party. They're really excited to support us. Justin, has lived there his entire life and has a ton of support. And so I think for us, it's wanting to get more beer into people's hands. And from the get go, once we pivoted away from having a brick and mortar location, we knew that okay, we have the support locally, but how do we get more beer into more people's hands and accomplish the mission that we had set out to do? So Justin, I know you have a lot more context to add there.
Just to piggyback on that, a lot of it's come from relationships, working in the brewery industry, having some friends at bartend that have just made straight introductions and stuff for us. Some of it has been us just dropping off samples, following up, things like that. But it's everything's been well received, and there's been a few places that are saying, hey, why don't you go across the street? I know those guys like to support craft breweries, and so they would, definitely want to pick your product up. So a lot of it's been word of mouth. Some of it's been just strapping the boots up in the grassroots campaign, just dropping samples off and following up. So
Cool. All right. Can you say a little bit more about Total Wine? Because that is a very large account. You know, it's
yeah,
one thing to be at Mile 20. It's one thing to be at Dominion Department of Beer and Wine. But Total Wine, large chain, many locations.
Yeah, that was definitely huge for us. And that relationship kind of came about. We were doing a tasting at Barrel and Bushel, and a lady came and tried our subtle nod, and she really liked it. And she worked for Total Wine out of Maryland. We exchanged email addresses, shot a couple emails back and forth, and she put me right in contact with the people to get us in the door. So right now we're in all 11 locations in Northern Virginia, all the way from Gainesville all the way down to Arlington. We'll be up in Virginia Beach, Richmond, Williamsburg, Portsmouth, Petersburg, all that stuff over the next couple weeks. So this has definitely been a huge account for us. They kind of cleaned out our cold box. So Total Wine, 11 locations all around Northern Virginia. You can order it for delivery or for pickup. And yeah, hopefully we can get some more beers in the door. We'll be doing some tastings and stuff over the next few weeks and throughout the year with our beers. So you guys can check our social media accounts and everything for those.
Excellent. And so that's Strange Fruit Brewing. Check their social media. So have you all had to scale up a bit in terms of brewing? If Total Wine has come knocking, are you brewing more and larger batches in the area?
Great question.
Ye-
We were just talking about that earlier today. We were talking about, the partnerships that we have with, the Mile 20s of the world and all the way up to Total Wine. And there are a couple other things that we have in the works. And so we, kind of come back with one another and decided that there is a need for us to have a faster brewing schedule because we do need to keep up with demand from our larger partners who we hope decide to take, have larger orders, and we're confident that will be the case. So we need to be able to meet that demand with the supply, and so brewing more at a larger scale is what we're going into 2024 thinking about pretty heavily, and we'll take action on here in the next couple weeks, actually.
It's a good problem to have. It's a good problem to have, and we're just rolling with the punches. And our beer has been really successful. The demand's been really high, so now we just have to meet that with the supply.
So speaking of supply, we, as in DC Beer, and you, Strange Fruit, have a collaboration coming out.
Yes,
Very
very
exciting.
excited for this.
You want to tell the good folks at home a little bit more about this? How it came to be?
Yeah. So I was just hanging out. I think it was around Thanksgiving, and Mr. Stein shot myself and Dynasty an email and just told us about how you guys used to brew beers and do collaborations and everything pre-pandemic. And you guys were looking forward to getting kind of back to that. And we shot some ideas back and forth. We met up at Dynasty, chopped it up with Favio, sampled a lot of beers, and kind of, decided like, yes, this could definitely be a partnership that we want to move forward with on both ends. You guys have supported the hell out of us over the last 6 months that we've been a company. But yeah, no. So we sat down, we talked about a couple beers. We decided to go ahead, move forward with it. Naturally, we wanted to work with Dynasty on that because I know that you guys have a really good relationship. Fabio's a legend in the brewing community around here. So
Your favorite brewer's
definitely.
favorite brewer.
Yes. So it was great to be able to work with him on this. So that was really cool. I met Fabio for the first time at Beltway. So for the relationship to kind of come full circle, that was pretty cool. So yeah, we talked about it, decided on the beer, started talking about some names. Got down with the label and everything, which is just now finishing up, and can't wait to show that to people. And yeah, we brewed a pretty good beer for you guys, and we can't wait to release it.
So the release is going to be the last weekend in January at Dynasty. Details over the Strange Fruit socials, the DC Beer socials as well. It's going to be a pale ale, and it's going to have a little bit of haze to it. How did you all decide? Like, well, we've done this hazy IPA. It comes in north of 7%. That's about where you see the hazies these days. Then you went a little bit lower, German Pils, 4.5%, 5%. Maybe it's just north of 5. And all right, where does the hazy pale fit in for Strange Fruit?
Honestly, when we first started the company, we had a pretty extensive list of beers that we wanted to brew. And, Justin and I are fans of all styles, but, we wanted to brew something that, is approachable for people who may not love IPAs and want something lower ABV and, something that has, some good flavor and has some more depth to it than, what some other beers out there might have. And so a hazy pale ale was, in the top 3 of our list. It went IPA to make a splash, then Pilsner, and then now a hazy pale ale. I personally have always been a fan of hazy pale ale. Sometimes I don't want to drink a, 6.5 to 7.5% beer, but I want a lot of that flavor and know I can have 2 or 3 and still be good instead of on my ass. But, so that was kind of where things started, and we think it made sense to not only have this be the first one that we do with DC Beer, but also to add in our future arsenal.
Justin, your thoughts on all of this in terms of like where you all are as a brand? Like, did the IPA, did the pills? To me, a pale ale kind of hits that sweet spot. You keep it like, at just under 6. And as Austin said, something you could have 2, maybe on a weekend 3 of.
Well, yeah, kind of like Austin said, it was kind of like naturally next in our line of beers that we wanted to release. We released Subtle Nod. That was the hazy IPA, but we brewed that to kind of straddle that line between a pale ale and an IPA. So for people who like to say, they don't like really danky beers, bitter beers, we kind of brewed that to introduce that to the market as something that's more subtle, no pun intended. And then our next beer, the German Pilsner, we kind of wanted to cover all of our bases for the people who don't really like hops at all. So the light beer drinkers, the Coors Originals. I want to be careful on what beers I compare this to because definitely more flavorful. But yeah, so we thought that the pale ale was next to go back kind of to that hoppy side and fully show that we do have some versatility and stuff in our arsenal, and that we're able to brew a variety of different styles. So the pale ale, that also being Austin's favorite style of beer, that was naturally next for us to do.
I want to pick up on something that you just mentioned with regards to dankness, because I know that when it came time for hop selection, this was the topic of some discussion. When I'm drinking a pale ale, as opposed to an IPA, I'm looking for probably a lot less dankness. And that when it comes to an IPA, yeah, absolutely. People famously say that like Bella's Hop Slam tastes like a cat, like, pissed on your Christmas tree because like it's got these like weird piney, catty, danky notes. I think of like the old DC Brow Corruption, where it's like it feels like kind of like you're mowing the lawn while also smoking a joint.
Yep.
And yeah, and so the pale ales are not like that. Like it's very rare that you would come across like a 6%, 5.5% dank pale ale.
Well, I feel like that's kind of where pale ale started, though. In my opinion, like when you think of kind of like Sierra Nevada, things like that, those mainstream beers that were pale ales that kind of again straddled that IPA-ish line. But yes, no, we wanted to cater, and we're really trying to show people that beer has depth. And when it comes to beer, it's like everything else. There's different styles. We have, East Coast IPAs, you have West Coast IPAs. The West Coast IPAs are the ones that people tend to say, yeah, I don't like it. It's too bitter, too danky, too hoppy. So we want to show people that there's an entire other side to that. And no offense with Austin being on the West Coast, but we on the East Coast, we like our beers a little bit more tropical, a little bit more fruity, a little bit more less hoppy. So again, that's what we wanted
Hey,
to show with the pale ale.
we do too out here. Just because it's called a West Coast IPA doesn't mean everybody likes to drink it.
Well, that's true.
We're
It originated over there.
right.
I'll give you that.
Yeah.
They
Yeah,
have
I mean,
some
like,
great hazies out there too. Austin sent me some pretty good shit from out there too.
yeah, I mean, like, and
Likewise
like
out
one of my
there.
favorite hazy pale ales comes from Radiant out in Orange County. Bunch of brewers, ex brewery, do a hazy pale ale. Comes in at about 5.5%. Hazy, not dank, but like the malt and like the structure is there in a way. It's got a little bit more to it than some of your other hazy IPAs, where it's like you've got like just enough malt, just enough of that bread toast, where then like you can hit it with a bunch of hops. To me, pale ale,
Right.
like you said, a little bit more structure and depth, complexity to it. You can kind of go back
Yep.
and forth there.
Yep. And it's yeah, we definitely want to be able to flex that and show that. And I think the hop variety we use, people are gonna be very happy with it. They're pretty well known when it comes to that hazy East Coast style.
Yeah, I thought we did a real nice job with Southern Hemisphere hops. A couple classics in there too, because you got to
Yep.
have them. Yeah, but I was like, yeah, going through the hops was very interesting. I think that we all just kind of immediately figured out, all right, this is what we want, this is what we don't.
Yep, exactly. I mean, because when it
Yeah,
comes to those things, there's certain hops that when it comes to, I guess, having so many different opinions and things, people like to, they like what they like, and I think we did a really good job with not forcing anything in there. It was definitely we had some discussions about it, and I think we settled on the perfect hop combination, and I'm excited to see what it tastes like. Favio sent me a couple pictures. I haven't been able to stop by there and try it, but I know we will be shotgunning a few on the canning line once we're canning it.
Yeah, there'll be a couple low fills that we'll have to pull those out of the wholesale retail, and
Yep.
kind of test those ourselves.
Yeah, you guys gonna have to just subscribe to DC Beer to see that behind the scenes footage too. By the way,
So you got beer 3 is in the tanks. This pale ale. What's next after that?
oh
Great
man,
question.
that's something that
Great
Austin and I are
question.
actually
Like, there
have been
doesn't
talking
have to be an
about.
answer now. There could just be discussion.
We're gonna leave a little bit of mystery
Hmm.
there, but we do have a couple things up our sleeves. A couple other collaborations that we're gonna do. We have a few other styles that we want to be able to introduce, but we do understand that we've created a following and everything for the beers that we've already created in Subtle Nod and Approachable Guys. So we're gonna see. We're gonna see.
All right.
2024 has a lot. Has yet to be seen, and we have a lot up our sleeve for that.
I mean, I will say that, the first thing that it's not the next beer that we're brewing is one we've already brewed. With the support that we got for Approachable Guys, we're talking about brewing that again, like I said, in the next couple weeks, hopefully, and getting that ready. And then from there, figuring out what the next, not just one beer is, but the next 2-3 beers are, so that we're prepared and can go to, our contracting partners and get that done, so that we're, not running low on inventory ever. And we have like a more consistent output. So yeah, definitely stay tuned. It'll be a fun ride.
Excellent. See, this is the kind of positivity we want in 2024. Brewers strategizing about how they can brew more beer, and then turn around and immediately sell it. Nothing wasted, nothing sits on the shelf. This is what we want to see. All right, and Justin,
Yes, sir.
we will see you on January 27th at noon at Dynasty.
Can't wait for that. Can't wait
Yeah.
for that. We have it's gonna be a good time. It's gonna be a good time.
Absolutely. All right, Austin, Justin, thank you all so much. We'll be chatting again soon, I believe.
Always a
Absolutely.
pleasure. Always a
All right.
pleasure. Thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for having us. Appreciate you.
Thank you so much to Favio for lending us his expertise. Thank you, Eason. Thank you, Austin. Thank you, Justin. We will see you all on the 27th, Saturday, 2 p.m. 4 packs available, other beers available, a DJ, food trucks.
All at Dynasty Brewing in Virginia. So yeah, go ahead and make the trek out to Virginia, and you can learn more about the event on our website at dcbeer.com/events. And you can also learn more about what's going on with DC Beer and all the women's brew culture events and all the other spectacular beer events we have by being a supporter of our Patreon. We have a number of partners that have graciously provided various discounts on taproom sales and to-go sales as well. So shout outs to all of our partners. Thank you guys for your continued support, and looking forward to making 2024 not only a happy new year, but a fruitful new year. Get it with strange fruit and everything else. But a fruitful new year with new friends and many more collaborations to come. So yeah, check us out on Patreon and definitely check out the page.
I don't want to end the show on like a dour bummer note, but I'm going to. We already just had our first beer-related closure of 2024. We lost a real one in Erika Goedrich and the Craft Beer Cellar. Their last day was earlier this week. There will be a liquor store moving in, although when, I don't know. I hope they keep the beer focus. I hope that they have half of the beer expertise, half of the caring that Erika has for craft beer. The good news is that she's now free to come to more beer events, and hopefully we will see her around. Jordan, Mike, any parting thoughts on Erika on the Craft Beer Cellar? I know that you've both worked with her.
Yeah, I hate to see any business go under, especially I think a business that was so important to the community, and just H Street as a whole, but not just H Street. The DC beer community, is where where beer nerds live and have fun. Right? So I was fortunate to work with her throughout 2023 with 2 different fundraising events on behalf of the Harper Wilder Scholarship Foundation, as well as, just being able to uh, host beer tastings for the Artemis 5 release we did with Astrolabe Brewing, but also with the Homecoming release we did with Third Hill Brewing. So she's always just been a great friend, great business partner, and just, CBC will be missed for sure. I actually had to grab a shirt so I can always wear my CBC merch. May it live on in memory, if not, in the physical space on 8th Street. But yeah, just sad to see her go. But I am happy for, the next chapter of what she has coming in, and the fact that she can now come to trivia at Other Half. So, small wins.
Yeah, I'll follow that up and say I'm super excited to see Erika at the next DC Beer Share. And I don't know if it's going to be this next one or February, March, whenever, but we look forward to that moment. 8th Street, Great Street. I still believe that. That's still true in our hearts and minds. Erika's freed up now, which is a wonderful thing, because I think when you're a small business owner, it's a blessing, certainly, to be in business for almost 8 years, 7.5 years. Erika's been doing it. But it's a burden too, especially when what you're doing is curating so many good beers from so many different sources. If you head on over to dcbeer.com, you can see what's been said about her from her friends and colleagues. So I'll just add briefly what Emily Brown, the beverage director at Andy's Pizza, told us. And she said, "I believe this closing has nothing to do with how Erika ran that shop and everything to do with things entirely out of her control. There's a lot that's outside of our control in this world, in our lives. And so it's important for us to keep track of what's within our control and what's not. That being said, I think we have to recognize that within her control, Erika had every single Black-owned beer brand in DC, Sankofa, Solmega, Urban Garden. She really walked the walk when it came to inclusivity. If you go on the site, you can see what Bill Butcher wrote about Erika, but really quickly he wrote that he thought Erika did great because she sent him a questionnaire with specific pointed questions that answer about views and policies against sexism and harassment. And that's the world we want to live in. We want to live in a world with less sexism, less harassment, more inclusivity. So cheers to Erika, and we're looking forward to seeing you at trivia, at the next share, or just around town. Pints on us.
Well said. Trivia. Other Half, Wednesdays with Jordan. On that note, we are at DC Beer across the socials, dcbeer.com. Check us out. Thank you again to Favio, to Strange Fruit for having us. An honor to be a part of it. And we will see you around town. Happy dry January if you're drying out. And if you're damp like me, see you around.